Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming a very talented producer and actress. Her name is Buffy Queen. Now Buffy, she produced a great little cult film that it's on YouTube. I saw it on VHS on Vestron Video back in the day. It's called Over the Summer. It's a kind of a teen romance movie set in the South. Incidentally, it's set in the South. It's a fish out of water story about a girl who goes to live with her grandparents, and then she falls in love along the way. And I'm having Buffy on the show today to talk about the movie because I love it so much. And it's funny because Buffy doesn't have a biography on IMDb, so we just happened to be talking in email, and she mentioned that she used to hang out at the Comedy Store a lot. And I am, of course, I come from a stand-up comedy background, and she saw that on my LinkedIn when we first connected, so I thought, oh, perfect. We got something else to talk about besides Over the Summer. And the other movie she made, Southern Bells, and she also guest starred on the show James at 16. That was all listed on her IMDb. So we get to talk about all that stuff today, and I can't wait. So yeah, here is my interview with Buffy Queen. Hey Buffy, welcome to the show.
Well, right on time, Tommy. Thank you.
Oh yes, I'm always right on time. Punctuality is my middle name.
It's hard to spell, but that's all right.
Yeah. This is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I listened to a few of your other podcasts to get ready and get an idea of, what kind of interviewer you were. And I tell you, I am really, really impressed because you're picking out people who are just kind of no major people at all, and giving us a chance to talk about our sojourn and all of that good stuff. And that's great.
Oh, yes. I mean, I love talking to people who are still out there, keeping their name that they've had for many years. But I love also talking to people who haven't had such good luck in the business, or they even left the business, because I think that the work that they did do shouldn't be forgotten because it was marvelous.
Well, that's what I mean. Thank you.
Yes.
On behalf of all of us who gave it a good shot, as it were, and had some good success, and decided, hey, well, I'm tired of starving, or whatever.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. You probably gathered from some of the interviews that you listened to that I'm not easily offended, so you can swear all you want on this show.
That's not my style so much, but yeah, thanks.
Okay, can I swear?
All right, go for it.
Okay. Fucking awesome. So, going back in time, you mentioned in that email that acting was originally on your trajectory. Did that start in Hollywood? I mean, I'm sorry, not Hollywood. In your childhood.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, we have a picture from when I was, I think, 3, and was cast in that famous Christmas play that everyone does. And I was Mary, front and center, and I don't quite remember, but there's the picture, and I looked like I was having a great time. So, yeah, I remember when I was about 7, and we were driving. We had quite a few children, and I remember leaning over the back seat, or the front seat, leaning over from the back, and asking my dad, saying, what do you have to do to be a movie star? And he very seriously thought about it for a minute, and then he said, well, you have to have some money. And I sat back and I said, what? I mean, I thought you became a movie star and then you made money, but really once I got into the business, and he was exactly right, because you have to have acting classes, you have to have, your done. You have to have your makeup. You have to have the right clothes. You have to have the connection. And, yeah, so, but for sure, he didn't poo-poo me. He didn't say, oh, what are you, you're raised on a horse farm. What do you mean, want to be a movie star? He just answered, and that's all.
Yeah, and also, too, they also, in those days, they didn't teach anyone the business side of acting, but now they're starting to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. I wish that I had a mentor in that way when I first went out to California. But, I read everything I could about the business, and I had already, after I went to school and graduated with a degree in TV, film, and political science, I worked at a TV station, an ABC affiliate in High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and got a real good feel for showbiz because I was a producer on a show that had a lot of famous people come through because they were promoting their books and things, and I got a chance to meet a lot of very well-known names and realized that, they're just like, they're human. They just have 2 arms and 2 legs. And so I think that also gave me some courage to move from North Carolina to Los Angeles with basically one person I knew out there. But I had some good experience under my belt by then, so.
Yeah, what year did you move out there?
Oh, let's not talk about that. No. I'm sure before you were born, probably, but it was, I was in California for about 10 years, from like the mid-ish, late 70s to 85. So I call them the golden years.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I was in the Golden State, so.
Yeah, did you study acting with anybody out there that was prominent?
I sure did. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I went to Lee Strasberg Theater Institute in Hollywood.
Oh.
And, got a real good start in method acting. And then followed a teacher who had been teaching it for many years. She decided to set up her own studio, especially for film acting, which is a whole different technique, really.
Yep.
From stage. And so Pat Randall, I went with her for a couple of years and then also kept up with another teacher on film technique specifically.
Yeah.
So, I got a real good education. And we were mentioning one of the most fun things I did was after acting class and things, I would go and hang out at the Comedy Store on Sunset Strip.
Yes.
And got to know a lot of the up-and-coming young comedians at that time, and became best friends with George Miller.
Oh, really? George Miller?
Yeah. George, oh, yeah. He was great, and I think he got the record for doing the most appearances on Dave Letterman.
Yes.
And, of course, Dave was, great friend of George's best buds, and,
yeah.
Jay Leno and Jimmy Walker and Tom Dreesen and,
yep.
all of those guys, because it was really a comfortable place for a single woman to go, say, at 8 or 9, have a drink, watch the comedians. You weren't, you didn't have to have a date, so, like I said, after acting class or after jobs or something like that, I could go hang out there. And I love comedians anyway, so that was just such a thrill. And
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I went with George the first time he was on Johnny Carson.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And, I was backstage with him in the green room there, and that was awesome. And, so I was there when they were having they all the comedians struck the Comedy Store because she wasn't paying anybody anything. And she was making a lot of money. So they had a strike, and I was around with them, too. That was, they put their lives on the line. And it turned out, because now they do pay very, very well.
It's actually gone down quite a considerable amount, but they do pay now. But I've talked to Tom Dreesen, Carrie Snow, Jackson Purdue, Lou Deck, and they all have different accounts of what happened, with the strike and everything, but it's very interesting to hear about because it was just a monumental time in American history, and I think it should be um, documented as a historical landmark of some sort.
Absolutely. I agree. Because at that time, you were desperate. All the comedians were desperate to get on Carson. That was the gold ring. And so I loved watching the series I'm Dying Up Here
Yeah.
at Showtime. And that was the time I was out there. So, I mean, it was really, really cool to see the clothes and how people did. But one thing that I really had a problem with is they had so much swearing and things like that on stage, and these comedians would never do that. Not that they were trying to get on Carson, just it had to be clean. You couldn't, use all the swear words and stuff like that. And so, but I'm Dying Up Here, they had to appeal to a modern audience, I guess. I can understand that, but
Yeah.
it certainly wasn't what their shows were.
Well, yeah.
Their 10 minutes or their 5 minutes. They would never do that because they would be instantly, not be able to go on Carson.
Well, yeah, because they had the nightclub set and the Tonight Show set, and it's very hard writing those Tonight Show sets. If you're a dirty comic, it's very, very difficult. But
Sure.
There were a lot of dirty comics who didn't even want to be on the Tonight Show.
Absolutely. No, I'm not saying they weren't, but
Yeah.
what they were all trying to do is, hit the Tonight Show, and so they had to really keep it clean. And because the scouts would be there, and if they would see, a great set that might kill, but it wasn't suitable for TV, then too bad. Show us something that we can actually take to Johnny and stuff. So, that was really a cool time. It was, and my acting stuff was fun, and I just I had an agent. I was in the union, and so I was a couple steps ahead of most of the other kids that I was in acting class with. But I didn't have any friends who were a few steps ahead of me to kind of guide me. And by the time I went out there, although I got called back for TV shows and stuff to play a teenager, 18 and 19, I didn't have much of what you call it. I didn't have many years to really build on my ingenue period.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever told you about the 3 periods for a female actor?
Oh, yes.
What they are?
Many.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my ingenue period kind of, and once you're out of the ingenue stage, then you're in the young professional stage.
Right.
And so when you're at the young professional, you're competing against other people who have a name already or a semi-name. And, that's very hard to compete against. And then the next stage is, the mother of ingenues, which is fine too. And now there's another stage, actually, selling Metamucil and stuff. So I think when I really, really retire, I'm going to get an agent down in Atlanta and head out because they're making so many commercials, with
Oh, yeah. The taxes.
Why not?
The taxes of LA are insane, and everyone's shooting in Atlanta right now.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God! Did you ever see any ghosts at the Comedy Store?
I never did. No. But I saw Richard Pryor several times, met him.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to come in like really late, when it was almost ready to close because he wanted to try material for his next album and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was so fantastic. He would hold the audience in the palm of his hand, and people would be laughing and laughing and laughing, just tears coming down his face. And then he would say something that would just tear your heart out.
Right.
And be so incredibly moving. And, he was a genius. He really was. And such a wonderful man, just a good gentleman. Although he always came in with 2 women on his arm, one on each arm, And, but he couldn't have been nicer, truly.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
pleasure of my life.
Yeah, I'm trying to get his widow Jennifer on here. She's a tough one. She's very eccentric and crazy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I've talked to Sam Kinnison's brother,
Uh-huh.
and he told me just how badly Sam was treated in the early years there, and then he was accepted by his peers eventually, but other comedians have told me, yeah, but he was mean to a lot of other comics, you know.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, comedians are they're an interesting group. It's almost and I know you've done a lot of stand up and comedy,
Hmm.
but it was almost like they were shy in a way,
Yes.
apart from being on stage, and kind of awkward, a little bit around women, and that's what made them be such good observers of human nature, I think.
Yeah.
They were not super self-confident at all. And I remember the funny thing was, Dave Letterman was considered by the other comics that I hung out with and everyone that just to be a wonderful person. But everybody he was like a comedian. He wrote a lot of jokes for a lot of people.
Hmm.
But people kind of felt sorry for him, Tommy, because he had this gap in his teeth. He wore glasses,
Yeah.
and he was from the Midwest, Indiana, I think.
Yep.
So they kind of, say, oh, yeah, Dave, man, he's a great writer. God, he's just so funny. But I don't know. I don't think he's got that gap in his teeth, and he wears glasses. They, definitely got their comeuppance because he did so super well. But
Yeah.
it's funny.
Oh yeah. And I heard the origins of where that gap came from. He had an abscess in the middle of his tooth, and the dentist filed it down, and it created that gap. And he tried to fix it, but it wasn't. He wasn't able to. So that became his trademark.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Those headshots on the wall are fucking spooky. I'll tell you, because I see big name comedians when they're young, but I also see these guys that the whole world has never heard of, and you wonder what happened, to them, and then you find out, there was a lot of drugs and mental illness that was crawling with that place. I mean, from what I've been told, the inmates ran the asylum. You know.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I was out there a couple of years ago. Well, I try to go back every year just to visit with friends and stuff, and I took some of my pals to the Comedy Store. I said, we've got to go. It's been a few years since I've been there. And that was just so much fun, but wow, yeah, lots of memories. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of the former waitresses have been on this show that went on to bigger and better things.
Uh-huh.
Lisa Pescia, who's an actress, she's been on here. Laurie Jacobson, who's like a mentor to me. She
Okay.
so she married Timmy from Lassie, John Provost, and
Oh, my.
she manages all of his childhood buddies of child actors and
Huh?
stuff. And she writes books about Hollywood gossip and Hollywood ghost stories, and the Comedy Store is chronicled in her book about that. It's stuff. But she saw a lot of crazy shit when she was working there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Mike Binder?
Don't think so.
Okay, he was the young kid there. He was like 17, 18 when he got there. He just made a documentary about the Comedy Store. It's going to be on Showtime later this year. Um,
Hey.
oh God, she saw him fuck a waitress on the original room stairway one night.
Oh, my God.
That could only happen in 1981 when that happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was when Quaaludes was quite a thing.
Yeah, did you?
I never tried myself, but somebody who I won't name was, he really loved it. He had a joke about it. He said, yeah, there's the Quaalude diet. Um, it doesn't destroy your appetite, but most of your food falls on the floor.
That's hilarious.
That's a George Miller.
Okay, George did say that. Did you know Argus?
Arcus, yeah. In fact, I think I talked to him when I was there a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's the only one who's left there from the original years of the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
He's up there every night doing his, one-liners, and the young kids, they dig him. He still draws a crowd.
Absolutely, yeah. He did a great set. It was just killer. It was.
Yeah.
You can tell. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so awesome. Did you know Mitzi at all?
I met her a couple times. And George's mom, actually, I believe, was like her assistant, in the office.
Yes.
So when the strike happened and everything, there was a lot of people there, because, of course, Helen was going to speak with George and everything. But I'm not sure if Missy decided no, they all got to go or what. But, yeah, it was pretty interesting time.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So did you have any classmates in acting that went on to become hugely successful?
Yeah, I heard you ask that somebody else. I said, yeah, I'll throw this name out.
Oh, I always ask that question. Yeah.
There's the two you know so much. William Forsythe, Bill Forsythe.
Love William Forsythe. Yeah.
He was in a little movie, a little independent thing called Raising Arizona.
Of course. Yeah.
Along with John Goodman. He was John Goodman's brother, kind of half-wit brother.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Bill did a whole lot of things. In fact, he was in Deuce Bigelow. That was one of your people was it Dinah?
Dinah Plattis, yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned Deuce Bigelow, yeah, and Bill was in that. He did a lot. Man, he's worked so much. He just was almost nonstop. But, yeah, he lived with us. I had a little house in West Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
A little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And, of course, I had a constant stream of with the actors or people who were going to school or whatever. And one of my housemates knew him from New York. And he was from Brooklyn, I guess, Bed-Stuy. And anyway, yeah, he stayed with us for a couple months until finally he said, hey, I'm not going to pay rent,
Yeah.
But I helped him get his first agent and everything. Yeah, I auditioned with him to get his first agent. And, he's just a great guy. But, yeah, so I'd say he's the most famous that I know.
Yeah. He did this movie called Cloak and Dagger where he played a video game wizard who owns a video game shop. I always felt bad for his character because he gets killed about 45 minutes in, and he was such a likable character.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so funny, he used to play Southerners, too, a lot of times in different movies. And I said, yeah, you're just mimicking my dialect. I know that, yeah. Let's have a little bit of compensation for that. But he was great with dialect. It was just so funny because I had never been around anyone really much who could do dialect. And, of course, Bill being from New York, oh my gosh, what a great schooling that was. And so, yeah, he was just tickled us so much with his different dialects and everything like that.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy.
Yeah.
I see you were on a show called James at 16.
They had that in my IMDb, but it was actually called James at 15. I was in the first season.
Uh-huh.
And then it switched to James at 16, second season, and then it went off. But, yeah, I was. That was kind of my claim to fame. I got an announcement in our local paper here back in North Carolina, and, local girl. So, but, yeah, that was really great. It was, my first, I think we were at Paramount, and, you just go, okay, this is it. This is where it starts. And I got 3 scenes or 4 scenes, and, I just kind of knocked it out of the park, I hope, I thought. But, yeah, that was great. And then, yeah. So, and I was doing a couple of other things, but, Tommy, if you're, say, a co-star, and your scene isn't with the star or the 2 stars in the series, and they're looking for time, they've got to cut it somewhere, blah, blah, blah. you get cut. So that
Right.
happened to me several times. So I kind of got to the point where I wouldn't really let people know because sometimes I didn't know if I was going to be cut or not or in it or not. So that's, James of 15, I definitely.
I,
That was,
I I can't tell you how many people I've met that have been cut out of things that I didn't even know that they were in, or
sure.
stuff that they auditioned for. Like did you audition for anything that became iconic?
Well, let's see. Nothing that I can really remember. I pulled out my resume this morning to get ready for your interview because I'm
Yeah.
going, I better look at it. What did I do? Um, but I was in a movie with Brooke Shields and Charles Durning and Ken Marshall called Tilt. And this was probably 78, 79, something like that.
Hmm.
And did I had one really, really good scene, and so it's a cute story. Anyway, so I was supposed to be the Texas girlfriend, and I always seem to get cast as the Texas girlfriend. And being from North Carolina, I would go, Texas?
Yeah.
Oh, But a lot of times people on the coast or casting directors, they really didn't understand the difference between Southern accents.
Yes, of
But
course.
anyway, that was fine. I got cast. And so the scene was we were sitting in a Rolls Royce, and my boyfriend in it, we were making out. And so his manager interrupts, gets in the front seat, and so he starts passing around a joint.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm, smoking a joint, pass it around. We all pass it around. And then the director told me later, so Buffy, you've smoked a joint before, right? I said, of course.
Hmm.
I mean, what do you mean? He said, well, those two guys, it looks like they've never smoked a joint in their life. It's so obvious. So I'm going, it does get along. And they're treating it like it's a cigarette or something. And neither of them smoked cigarettes, so we had to reshoot it. But I got paid twice. That was really fun. And I got a first class ticket up to Santa Cruz, where we filmed it the second time. That was fun. But yeah, no, I got cut out. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
wasn't in the scene with Brooke or Charles. So they just picked it up after that little scene. And, a couple of things like that. I was on Knots Landing, had a really nice part. No, so that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
when you're building a career in acting. I mean, you're just lucky as hell to get the part.
Oh
And
yeah.
so what can you say? You can't say, hey, man, that's not fair. Everybody back in West Carolina is looking at me for this part. So,
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say though about James at 16 though, Lance Kerwin, he got completely out of acting.
uh-huh.
I thought he was pretty good in a lot of stuff I saw him in.
He was. Yeah, he really was. That's for sure. Um, I know one thing that I missed that was really big was 9, 15, 30 or something like that. 9, 15, 55. The Buddy Holly story.
Oh yeah.
And this was the first one that Gary Busey, he started Buddy Holly. And again, I was cast. They asked me to come back for the final casting, and I had the part. And I was down with the strep throat, 103-degree temperature. I couldn't get there. I just couldn't. So they invited me to the cast party. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one that I always said, oh well, and that's just life.
Yeah. Was it, after a while, I can imagine it got tough getting on camera acting jobs. Did you do a lot of theater while you were there?
Not much, no. LA, it has some theater, but really it's TV and film town.
Of
And
course.
that's what appealed to me the most. I really, really love acting in TV and film. And so I'd done a little bit of theater in college,
Hmm.
a little bit in high school, but it really wasn't what I really wanted so much. So, yeah.
So how does Over the Summer come to you? So how does Over the Summer come to you?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting story. And I asked you before, how did you find me? You said that you'd seen it and you really had enjoyed that film so much.
Yeah.
So I told you I had a house, a couple different bedrooms and all that. And so one of my housemates at that time was getting the master's from UCLA in directing. And so I'd seen a short film she'd made for her master's. And I really liked it. And so she started telling me about the script, that she'd entered in some contests and she'd, won like first place or second place in it. And I said, well, let me see the script. And so she showed it to me. It was set in eastern Tennessee, which is still between the mountains.
Yeah.
I'm in western North Carolina. Eastern Tennessee just across the border. And so this was kind of her early life story, enhanced, of course. But so I read it and I said, I'll tell you what, Teresa. If you will change the locations from Oak Ridge to Waynesville, which is where I was from, then I'll go find the money, I'll produce it, and we'll do it. And so she got out her pencil and started erasing and Waynesville. And that's how it happened. So I came back. I'd done some producing already. And so this was in the early 80s, and when I was at the TV station. And so, it was in my background. I knew how to do it, but I came back to West North Carolina and raised the money for it and set up an LLC and, all this kind of good stuff. And then we shot it, I think, in 83, and then edited it. And then it really made the festival circuit. It got a lot of really great press. We found a distribution agent, and it got distributed, especially overseas. We went to the LA Film Act. We went to Houston International Film Festival and won the Gold Award there.
Uh-huh.
Berlin Film Festival, New York Film Festival. And this was really before, Tommy, this was really before film festivals were a dime a dozen. And they were just like money-making schemes,
Yeah.
I don't even remember if we had to pay to enter in these. You just had to send your, film, and if they liked it, you were in. So, but, we did really well with it. And,
is there any autobiographical elements in the story?
There were for Teresa. She wrote it and she directed.
Yeah.
I just produced and executive produced. So, yeah, I think maybe so. Because she spent a lot of time with her grandparents in the summer and things like that. Of course, it was all enhanced, tremendously. But I think it probably was a bit autobiographical for her. The young teenager who doesn't want to go to the country for the summer, to stay with the grandparents. I mean, what teenager would?
Yeah.
But, really. But it was really quite an eye-opening experience, too, because I told people that, producing a film, once it's in production, is like pulling off a wedding every day for 6 weeks,
Yeah.
You've got to get your locations, you've got to get the costumes, you've got to get the food, you've got to get this and what, you've got to get the lighting every day. So it's a whirlwind. It really is.
Yeah.
But Teresa brought a lot of her crew from people she knew at UCLA, and ended up a couple of years later marrying our assistant cameraman, and he also assistant edited our film, Pietro Scalia. And Pietro's gone on to have an incredible career as an editor. He's won, I think, one, if not two, Academy Awards as editor. And they live in Pacific Palisades. I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that well.
Yeah.
That well.
It's oh, go ahead.
So she and Pietro's kids, they have two children, are both in the business. So there's a lot for it.
Yeah, it's a great fish out of water story. I've always loved those kind of movies. They seem very rare nowadays, but there were so many back in those days and stuff.
Yep.
How did you find Laura Hunt?
Well, we auditioned actors all around. We auditioned Atlanta, I think Charlotte, Knoxville, in the South, in the Southeast. And I think Laura, it was probably Chapel Hill, Raleigh. She was in school there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and she, went on to try and have a career in it. And it's funny, she came back, and Teresa told me later that like a year later, after the film was done and all of that, Laura came back and said to Teresa that she just really thanked Teresa so much and me for giving her the opportunity to star as, a total unknown in this really gem of a movie, because she didn't appreciate it at the time. She, young people, hey, you want me? Okay, fine, I'll be in it,
Yeah.
And only when she really got involved in the business did she realize what an opportunity she'd been given. So,
yeah,
it was not.
She was very talented. I actually found her on Facebook and sent her a message, but I haven't heard back. Even at her age, she still has that baby face. You could still tell it's her. Her hair is completely different, of course, but you could tell it's her, and I hope I get to interview her. That would be great, because she's so great in the movie.
That's fantastic. Please tell her that Buffy says hi and best wishes, 100%.
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear from her, too. That's very cool.
If I get to,
Where was she? Do you remember where she was living now?
I looked. It didn't say. I think it was hidden right now.
Yeah, I got it.
But she was a local though.
No, she wasn't local from here. I think she was from somewhere maybe in the Asheville, Charlotte area. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the little gal, Catherine Williams, who played her sidekick.
Oh, she's great.
She was so good, and she ended up very tragically dying.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, she did a few more low-budget movies in North Carolina, and then she disappeared. I didn't know she died.
Yeah, in New York, I hate to say it, I don't want to down anything, but I'll tell you later. So anyway, bless her. But she was from the Chapel. She was from Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, so we got people from all over. Just really made a real effort to find that talent that we really needed, and it was perfect for it. So.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The mother was she was from local. She was local to them.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love it when they're getting naked at the lake, and just before the arrest, and Catherine yells, "Penis shop." It's hilarious.
And just natural as anything, absolutely.
Yeah. How many days did it take to shoot?
I think we had a 6-week shoot.
6 weeks?
Something like that, 6 weeks. Yeah, we took one day off a week.
And was it summertime?
It was in the summer, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What exactly was the budget on the movie?
You're going to laugh. I think it was about $150,000.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not gonna laugh. Some of my favorite movies cost either that amount or less.
Oh yeah. And remember, we shot on film too, which really jacked the price up so much. But we shot it at Super 16, so that helped a bit. But the quality was still really good. And then we had a process in New York at Newark. So we had all our ducks in a row, I think. And it took a while to get it edited, but it all came together, so very proud of it. Pretty serious kind of little movie, not much humor in it. The next one I did, called Southern Bells, had a lot of humor, and I co-wrote that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to be able to laugh sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially now, right?
Yeah. Did you have difficulty, though, getting over the summer distributed? Because you mentioned it was in the festivals.
Yeah, no, not really. I think our distributor picked it up after the LA Film Act.
Uh-huh.
Because the whole idea is you bring your films here, and hopefully you have somebody pick it up, and they did. So, yeah, and actually I think more of our sales came from Europe than they did in the United States, and we were able to return our investors like 2/3 of their money.
Yeah.
And most of them were shocked to get anything back, right?
Yeah.
This is when you're taking a stab at a film and, new people and untried and all that, you just say, hey, good luck, and, here's 1 or 2 shares. Let me know, when you're going to screen it, premiere it. And they were really glad that they got some money back. So, including my parents and her parents. Of course, they invested some, but no, we had investments from all over. We had quite a few people who actually own movie theaters here in the Southeast who invested. And, so the thing about raising money is you talk to a lot of very rich people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you just try to show them, hey, this would be a cool thing to talk about, when you're at your cocktail party, that you're investing in this movie, or you're helping these, filmmakers out and stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of it was that.
Vestron Video has been a part of my life for more than 30 years. I have the entire catalog memorized of low budget films and HBO and HBO comedy specials and Showtime. Yes. I just love Vestron. They were pioneers of releasing things. When this came out, they were just coming off of Michael Jackson's Thriller being released on Vestron. Because it was on Showtime, and then NMTV, and then it went to Vestron. With the making of documentary. I mean, it was a huge business venture they were on. Did all the HBO and all the channels play it?
No, we never, as far as I know, I don't think we've really ever made a deal. The thing about the films that were in the early 80s and stuff, up to the mid-80s, maybe even, that they were all song film. And so to transfer them over, I mean, you'd have a videotape, but to transfer them over to DVD and things like that, to do it right, you had to go back to the negative. You had to have pasta made, all this kind of stuff. That's what Teresa told me. And a lot of them aren't even on DVD anymore. One of my favorites was Rich and Famous. Yeah, Rich and Famous. And it's not out. It's not on DVD. So, we haven't, but I just need to get a really good copy of the VHS and have it transferred over.
I really think that Over the Summer should be on Blu-ray.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you and Teresa Sparks should do a commentary track, and maybe get Laura involved. If she's still in town. And yeah, I mean, I would buy it. Definitely.
Thank you.
Of course.
Around here, we just love it. I mean, it was just the hottest topic of that summer. Was where are they going to shoot today, and what are they going to burn down? And we had the fire department come help us when we had to burn the sheriff's station and all that. And it was really great. So thank you for that encouragement.
Of course. Yeah. Well, did you guys have a nice little rap party?
Oh, sure. Yeah. All of that. And my mom and dad have like a dude ranch, which is where we put up all the cast and crew pretty much, and for the summer. So there was a lot of fun stuff going on, I'm sure, after hours. But we catered all the food, and that was great. Our cinematographer's wife did all the catering for us, and she just made great meals. And everybody got fed well and had a wonderful summer in the Smoky Mountains. What a better place to be.
Yeah. And did you go to any of the screenings?
Yeah, I went to most of them. I was the only one at Houston Film Festival. I took it there, and that's where we got the Gold Award for low budget, best low budget. And I just think it was presented
talking about Sal Mineo?
Not Salminio, no, no.
Nick Adams? No.
But he's like Nick Adams. He looks a lot like Nick Adams. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, he presented the award to me, and that was really cool. But yeah, I went to a lot of them. I went to the LA Film X screening and New York. I did not go to Berlin. We did another one in Nashville. So yeah, those are all fun. Have you ever gone to film festivals much and with the projects or anything?
I've only been to one festival. Last 2 years it was a horror film festival. I'm supposed to go to one in October if the pandemic can be controlled, but I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I had a lot of fun. I want to host panels at festivals and conventions because I know so much about these movies and stuff, you know. And I just hope that this pandemic doesn't fuck it up for me because I feel like it's my destiny.
I think you do a great job. Just
Oh.
a couple of, no, and I'm not saying that's slow smoke. Just a couple of interviews I heard. They were really interesting. And again, it's giving people a chance to talk about, a time in their life that was so special a lot of times. And, just to see all the different paths that everybody was on, how they got to where they got to.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you heard one where I talked about my journey, but I had a car accident 5 years ago, and I spent 30 days in a coma.
Wow.
And so I want to hear other people's journey too, because I think they have fascinating journeys as well. It's really taught me to ever since I had the accident, ever since I sobered up, I've developed a lot more empathy for people than I thought I had before. And I just want to hear everyone talk about their journey. And since I love entertainment and movies, especially old entertainment and movies, I thought there's no better way than to do it that way, But it took me a while to figure out how to interview and stuff because I listened to my early stuff. I cringe. I'm just like, oh my God, why did I say it like that? Or why did I just, start with the first movie and not talk about, the childhood years and stuff in those early interviews? I think I've really improved.
Well, of course, don't we all? There's a technique to it. There really is. I don't know if you know, have you ever heard of Bill Boggs? But he had.
Oh, Bill's been on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I was his producer at Southern Exposure with Bill Boggs at the TV station I worked at.
No kidding.
And, and he just released a book. So I had to call him and do a podcast called Spike the Wonder Dog is Told Bill Boggs.
Yeah.
And it is funny as hell, Tommy. You'll just love it.
Yeah, he told me. Yeah, I need to get a copy. He told me just how politically incorrect it was, and I was just like, okay, I gotta get a copy soon. Yeah.
And one of the characters is named after me. I mean, believe me, it's mostly all made up. But anyway, that was my claim to fame too recently. But yeah, so it's doing really, really well. It's got great reviews on Amazon, and he's getting a lot of good stuff. That would be so cool. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
after... That's where I found out, and I really got exposed to people in the biz, who... I was the one who was going to get some coffee. I was the one who was going to find money for their, whatever. And so it really made me, it just really opened my eyes to the fact that it wasn't some mysterious thing. When a friend of mine at the TV station said, hey, Buffy, let's close this joint. Let's just go to California and go for it for acting. And I said, oh, my God, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do my whole life. He never went. But I did. So, but it was thanks to Bill, too. He was just a really great boss, more or less.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked this stuff. I used to watch him on PBS and what have you, do interviews and everything. I didn't, he only had like 15 minutes to talk or whatever when we talked. I thought, he was going to chronicle the journey with me. We only got to, I asked him about the Frank Sinatra interview, and then he realized he didn't have enough time to talk about it, so then we talked about the book for the next few minutes and stuff. But he was a gentleman. I enjoyed talking to him.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure he'd be glad to give you another 45 minutes or an hour. You know, he must have just been, he didn't realize the time crunch was there.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny? That's really, it goes around, so.
It's happened occasionally to me. Yeah, it's okay.
So he's a great interviewer. That's why I brought him up, because, you know, really he's done it for so long, and he really does know how to kind of disarm people and ask them things in a certain way that maybe they've been asked 2 or 3 times or 20 times before, but makes them think about it in a different way. And so, yeah, that's what you're, you know, having to do too, Tommy, is learning the technique and the you know, honing your craft as an interviewer. That's what you're doing it great, I think.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Because interviews are just, you're talking, you're sharing, and, you know, trying to make somebody feel comfortable enough to do that.
I do my best. But after you did Over the Summer, you went back to LA, but then you left not too long after that, right?
Yeah, I left in 85. No, 86. I left in 86. Yeah, a little baby in arms, and I did not want to raise her in Los Angeles as a single parent, so I moved back to Western North Carolina around my family. I needed them to be around me and help and all that good stuff. And so, yeah, so I came back here. And so when my daughter was about 9 or 10, it's when we started shooting Southern Belle. So I had another friend who was a couple films ahead of me. When I was doing Over the Summer, he already had a couple films and, you know, under his belt. And then by the time I was ready to do, well, when we decided to do Southern Belle together, you know, it was, you know, it was just a really good thing. So he was my mentor a little bit. And then we were really close friends. So,
nice.
Yeah, so we co-wrote Southern Bells, and I co-starred in it. And we co-produced. I call it my Coco movie.
Yeah.
I didn't have quite as good a success, you know. The film business had changed quite a bit between Southern Bells, Over the Summer and Southern Bells. You know, I think Southern Bells is a better movie, truly, and it's funny. Really has a lot of funny stuff in it. We didn't have a name to put in it, and so by then you really couldn't get a distributor unless you had a name, some name talent to take it, go to their market and say, oh yeah, this person's in it, even if they were just supporting role.
Yeah.
So, you know, we didn't get the distribution that we wanted. We got a little bit, but yeah, so just that's the way it goes sometimes. That's showbiz, right?
Absolutely. Do you regret waiting so long?
Between the two?
Between the two movies, yeah.
No, not really. I think timing is always perfect. I really did.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter was at the right age where I could, you know, feel free and comfortable that she could participate. And in fact, she did. She was in one scene. I cut out. That shows you, you know, even if you're the producer, sometimes you can't influence that. But yeah, no, it was good timing. I think if Phil and I had really been more in touch, because he was in Hickory, which is 2 hours from here, from where I live. If we had maybe had a little bit more prep and knew that, hey, no, you've got to have a name in it, we would have gotten a name. You know, we would have, but we just didn't call for it. So, you know, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. At least you followed your dream, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So what do you do when the pandemic isn't going on?
I work for a nonprofit agency, and I'm a community educator. So I go into middle schools here in our county, and I talk to kids about healthy relationships. And it's great fun, you know. It gives my acting chops a little bit of workout. And because you have to entertain 7th and 8th graders.
Yeah.
They're not amused unless you really entertain them. So
yeah.
I do that. But in between, I worked in my family's business. That's what I do. But I've been involved in other ways. I helped a friend edit and get her book published, and it's been a bestseller for around here called Moonshiner's Daughter. And it's just done really, really well. So that was fun. I helped publish a literary magazine for a couple of years. I do a lot of publicity. I have a groovy movie club. We do the groovy movie club once a month. Not now, but normally we show film and talk about it. Just people hanging out, have a great time.
Yeah.
So I keep my toes in it, and I've done a lot of regional theater too. So you asked about theater in LA, no, but once I got back here, that was pretty much the only avenue you had, and so I've done a lot of regional theater.
Yeah, I just admire theater actors. I did stage crew as a prop man in high school. I've been regretting a lot of the fact that after I graduated high school, my elementary school PE teacher offered me a job at the Performing Arts Auditorium because she was one of the new managers there, and I had to turn it down because I was taking care of my grandmother, and she died the very next week after I was offered, and I got myself banned from going to the school for reasons we don't need to get into, and I just regretted it ever since because I wonder if my path would have been less difficult, less hard. You know what I mean?
I know, yeah. They always say we never regret what we do, we regret what we don't do.
I did do stage crew for money just before my accident. My mother and I we were homeless for like 4 years, and I had to that year in 2014, that first year leading up to my accident in 2015, I had to do any job I could, right? So I had been wanting to do this for about a year, going back to doing props for theater, but just scheduling didn't work out. But then after I had lost this one job, I was able to do it. They were paying $400 for prop people, and I took the job. They let me go. They let me go opening night, and I still question that to this day because I think I was professional. I did a good job, and I got paid, thank God. But I just think that I think they should have kept me for the entire run and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love the theater. I tried to get involved in the theater over here in Redding because I'm from the Bay Area, and they weren't very nice here, and they were very confusing, and they weren't willing to accommodate me for the fact that I have metal in my leg and I can't do a lot of physical movement,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so they were just jerks. So
oh man,
I'm gonna move eventually, and I hope I find a community that I can, work with.
Sure.
In that, But you said you talk to kids about healthy relationships. What's your philosophy on healthy relationships? Because I seem to fall into a lot of toxic ones, unfortunately.
Oh wow. Well, the agency I work with is a nonprofit for domestic violence and sexual assault. Against that intervention.
Yeah.
And so, just treating people with kindness and respect. That's 100% what it is. But nobody has a crystal ball, Tommy. Nobody really knows what's going on with somebody when you first meet them. And you don't know. No, And so sometimes looking for little red flags. Somebody's really controlling, or they seem to be super jealous, or they start assuming that they can come over anytime they want without really calling in advance. Things like that. Having no boundaries,
Yeah.
Don't understand boundaries.
Yeah.
Those are red flags, and it's kind of the way to say it. And a lot of times, people who are toxic, they want to get involved with somebody like immediately. So on the second date, they might be saying to you, "Oh man, you're exactly what I've been looking for my whole life. I feel like I know you 100%, and let's run away next week." And I tell my kids, "So what do you do?" And they say, "Run." I said, "Right, run." Because nobody can really know someone that well after 2 days. So.
Yeah.
And not saying that. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, but it's just, if they do, they don't tell you on the second date. They might wait for a couple months and then say, I knew I was going to love you from the first time I met you. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
If they start pressuring you. So I don't know. Gosh, sometimes it is just the luck of the draw. But also seeing how they treat their parents. How do they have respect for their parents or their siblings? And if not, maybe that's a little red flag too. So not always, but sometimes.
It's funny you bring that up because I'll tell you, when I just came back from my accident and I decided I was going to pursue show business seriously without because I didn't have to work real jobs anymore because I'm disabled now, right?
Right.
I did something that you should never do, but I was just learning at the time. It's been 4 years. I was at a convention. I met this actress that I've been in love with my whole life. I just adore her, right? And she's an absolute sweetheart. And so, like, I told her, I want to work with you, in the future. I have a script, right? She looked very uncomfortable by that, right? And I learned, from doing, and then I started the podcast maybe 9 months later, and I've over time have found out the business side of things and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and what have you and stuff like that. She will still not do my podcast, and I just hope she doesn't think that I was a toxic person at all. After you brought that up, that kind of stuff can happen.
I know, and
You know.
some people, especially if they have a name, they're super cautious.
Right.
They don't know if somebody's really interested in them for them, or to hang out with somebody who's famous or whatever. I mean, I can understand that, but it puts you in an awkward place all the way around.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, ironically, we did hang out. She had a movie premiere several months later in my hometown of the Bay Area, where I was still living at the time, and she lives in the Bay Area as well. And we hung out at the bar for like 45 minutes before the movie, and she was a completely different person than she was when I met her, because when I met her, she was kind of on the defense, and she looked disturbed by me. I'm sure, I brought up some names of people that we know, and I'm sure she talked to them, and they let, her know that I was a good guy, and she was a completely different person. She saw me, gave me a great big hug, and I even told her some jokes that were inappropriate that made her laugh out loud. And the fact that I got her to look both ways before laughing is like one of the biggest thrills of my life, because they were inappropriate. And we just had a great time and stuff. And like I've seen her since, a couple times, like at that festival I told you about before. And we'll talk and stuff, but she's just like, I don't know, still on the defense about, working with me and doing my podcast on the future. It's strange.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I know. It's hard to know what's going on in somebody's mind, that's for sure.
Yeah, but
it wouldn't hurt to ask her once in a while to say, hey, by the way, the offer's still available. You have to have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've learned, and stuff. I've been so patient with people, and so many people have just thrown themselves at me for being patient. I am getting so many offers to have big names on the show. I got Ed Asner coming on the show tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've worked so hard. I've just built up a cult following with the show. I'm so grateful to what I have. It's all from patience and persistence.
That's the key all the way around. 100%.
I've talked to people this year that I tried 3 years ago to get, and I wasn't able to, but now I can.
Okay. We've got a track record now. That's good. And I love the title, Splat in the Past. It's so great.
Do you want to know where that came from? It's kind of inappropriate. It's inappropriate, but pretty funny. Okay, so when I started the show, it was horror and sci-fi people I wanted to interview only. And then after a while, I wanted to not limit myself. I wanted to interview everybody of all walks of life of entertainment, because I just felt like the horror podcast just became oversaturated. I mean, it still is a horror podcast. Every October, I do a month-long block of strictly horror people. That's it, you know.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But I was like, okay, what can I come up with that can be horror, but it can be just, in general of anything. And then I came up with Splat, and I knew it was going to be a blast from the past kind of play, right? But what was I going to say
Right.
instead of blast? So I came up with Splat. It was part because of blood and horror, the Splat genre,
Sure.
and the fact that a lot of us, nerds, we go splat when we see, hot actresses in these horror movies or teen movies in general. And so that's where that came from.
I like it, yeah.
Oh, thank
And
you.
also, instead of somebody, a lot of the people you're talking to made a little bit of a splash, and so that kind of calls on that too. And, yeah, it's a good title. Catchy.
Splash was not an option.
Yeah, yeah. No, but splat kind of, it calls to mind the splash from the past and splat from the past. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, thank you. That
Good,
means that
good.
means that means a lot to me. So, listening to the other podcast, did you familiar yourself with my secret silly game?
I did not get that far. Is it in there all the time? Or?
Uh, Certain ones, yes, like the one with Dina that was on there and stuff. Yeah, certain people they don't listen all the way through. I found, but yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was just trying to get a feel for how you like the interview. So that's why I listened to a couple different ones. But no, I didn't listen to it all the way through.
oh yeah, a lot of my episodes, especially in in recent times in the last year, have become very long, like 90 minutes to 2 hours sometimes. But yeah, so the Secret Silly game, it came out of an improv I was doing with a friend of mine in the Bay Area who's not in show business. I have my Bay Area friends come on and we just have random talks. And what this is it's a series of silly slumber party questions. And how this works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question and I answer it.
Okay.
Okay. Buffy, are you ticklish?
I am not really ticklish. No. Are you ticklish, Tommy?
Yes, very ticklish. I've been known to hit a few people in the groin.
Oh my God. Yeah, and it's just one of those things. Somebody is or they're not. There's no telling.
Hmm. What's your favorite part of the body?
Gosh, I'd have to say the hands. Yeah.
The hands.
Hands are the favorite part for me. What's your favorite part?
The belly button.
Oh,
It's always been my favorite.
unadorned or adorned? Or do you care?
What was that?
Adorned or unadorned? Do you care if you have a ring or a belly button ring or whatever?
Yeah, with or without the ring, it don't matter.
Okay.
And I like either innies or outies. I have an innie, it's very deep. Um, what color are your toenails painted?
My toenails are painted runway red.
Nice, nice.
So, yeah. So, Tommy, do you have paint on your toenails?
I don't have them right now. They're au naturel, but
Okay.
last time they were purple with sparkles.
Oh, wow. Yes, that's right.
That
Would be good for sandals.
Yes, that often surprises women that I paint my toenails. I have a subdued flamboyance that I've had since I was 13.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
Uh,
What would you say is your best personality trait?
I'm a positive person. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the best one. Even though everybody has things in their life that didn't go the way they thought or they wanted, or they're dealing with really tough crisis, no doubt about it. Who hasn't? But
Yeah.
yeah, my positivity, maybe kind of boring, but still. How about you? What's your best personality trait?
um, my sense of empathy and the fact that I have no filter.
Okay.
It's a good mixture.
Yeah.
And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Oh man, skunks. Yeah, I live in the country,
Yeah.
and you can smell a skunk if my window's open. You can smell them from up on the ridge. And,
Mm-hmm.
I jump out of bed no matter what time and slam my window closed because it's terrible. And then it gets in the house, and it's just like it just stays until you can get off the fan point and blow it all out. Yeah, how about you? What's your stinky smell that just makes you sick?
Two classics, farts and feet.
Okay, yeah, they are classic. Totally.
Yeah. Someone told me that should be the name of my autobiography, Farts and Feet.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, Buffy, this has just been truly wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome, Tommy. Thank you so much for letting me have a little walk down memory lane. I don't get a chance to tell many people that. So will you send me the link for this so that I can spread it around among my Facebook friends and stuff?
Of course. I send everybody the link, and
Okay.
I hope after this pandemic is over, um, there could be screenings again. I would love to host a screening for over the summer in your area.
Oh no, that would be so much fun. We've got a theater that's doing outdoor, drive-in stuff. And I was just reading something about that in the paper today, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if I could find where our film is, the actual film footage for over the summer, because there's so many people asking about it all the time.
Yeah,
And but yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much, and tell Bill that I said hi too.
I will.
But yeah, he'd probably be glad to give you some more time to.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Stay safe because we need you.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Tommy, thank you. And best wishes and best of luck for everything.
My pleasure, and you too. And have a great
Thank
day.
you. You too. Okay. Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Buffy Queen. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, what a nice, adorable lady. I enjoyed talking to her. And that was cool. She got to hang out at the Comedy Store in its prime. That's so fucking awesome. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!